equally across the three surveyed age groups, 10, 12, and 14 years old. Although exact global sales figures are hard to verify, it is estimated that 3.5 million copies of The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe are sold annually around the world in editions published in 33 languages, and these figures don't include the millions of copies of the other 6 titles in the series. Clearly, it is no exaggeration to speak of a C.S. Lewis phenomenon or a C.S. Lewis industry. Such phenomenal success will do nothing to assuage the contempt with which the books are held by those who allow their judgment to be clouded by the arrogance of ignorance. The response of such people was epitomized by the manner in which the triumph of The Lord of the Rings was greeted after it was voted the greatest book of the century in a nationwide poll in the UK in 1997. "Tolkien? That's for children, isn't it? Or the adult slow?" scoffed the writer Howard Jacobson. "It just shows the folly of these polls, the folly of teaching people to read. Close all the libraries, use the money for something else. It's another black day for British culture." Griff Rhys-Jones on the BBC's Bookworm program was equally dismissive, stating that Tolkien's epic was no deeper than the comforts and rituals of childhood, a judgment he would no doubt extend to the Chronicles of Narnia. And yet, for all their superciliousness and all their pride and prejudice, don't the critics have a point, at least where Narnia is concerned? Even if we concede that The Lord of the Rings is for grown-ups, surely the same can't be said of the Narnia books. Unlike The Lord of the Rings, the 7 books that comprise the Chronicles of Narnia were written specifically for children. Surely they are just for kids. Not so, says anyone who sees the true value of fairy stories. Take G.K. Chesterton, for instance. Although he never had the pleasure of entering Narnia, having died before Narnia was born, we can be sure that he would have been one of its greatest champions. "Fairy tales are as normal as milk or bread," Chesterton wrote. "Civilization changes, but fairy tales never change. Some of the details of the fairy tale may seem odd to us, but its spirit is the spirit of folklore, and folklore is, in strict translation, the German for common sense. The fairy tale means extraordinary things as seen by ordinary people. The fairy tale is full of mental health. For all this fairy tale business is simply the ancient and enduring system of human education. A 7-headed dragon is, perhaps, a very terrifying monster, but a child who has never heard about him is a much more terrifying monster than he is." Yes, indeed. One thinks of that terrifying monster Eustace Clarence Scrubb at the beginning of the Voyage of the Dawn Treader, who is much more terrible as a child than he is when he is transformed into a dragon later in the story. A few years later, Chesterton returned to the theme of fairy tales in the wonderful chapter The Ethics of Elfland in his book Orthodoxy, a chapter that would greatly influence both Tolkien and Lewis. "Fairyland is nothing but the sunny country of common sense," he wrote. "It is not earth that judges heaven, but heaven that judges earth. So for me, at least, it was not earth that criticized Elfland, but Elfland that criticized the earth." Chesterton is not saying, of course, that heaven and the things of heaven are mere fairy stories. Heaven forbid. He is saying that heaven and the things of heaven, specifically the God of heaven, preceded the things of earth. The heavenly things came first. Indeed, the heavenly being made the earthly beings. Since the supernatural precedes the natural, and the natural proceeds from the supernatural, it is obvious that the supernatural supersedes the natural. This is why heaven judges earth, and why earth does not judge heaven. The value of fairy stories is, therefore, discovered in the way that they reflect this heavenly reality. They serve as a lens by which the heavenly can be seen by those of us on earth, a lens by which the deepest and most important realities are grasped. They allow us to judge evil from the perspective of the good and the imperfect from the perspective of perfection. This is why Tolkien